it's Liz Yuille from Old Stables Crafts, back for a second time today. So, why am I back? Well, I am doing a training programme with the lovely Kylie Bertucci in Australia. She is the #1 demonstrator in Australia, and she runs a training programme globally. And one of the benefits of doing that is that I get to do a blog hop along with her. So that is what I'm doing today. And this is the card that I've made. I'm using the heartfelt stamp set again. I used it in my project this morning. Do go and have a look at that if you haven't seen it already. But this time I am going full-blown Valentine's, using designer series paper and the stamp set. The designer series paper is gorgeous, and if you get the stamp set and the matching punches, then if you bundle those two together and use the bundle code, you get 10% off. So let me show you the piece of designer series paper that I'm using on this one, or one of the pieces. This is the, in inverted commas, cut apart sheet. I mean, obviously we're not cutting it, we're going to punch it, and all you need to do is select your heart and punch. And that is a glorious foiled in real red heart. So that is our sort of main feature on the front of the card. Other than my favourite designer series paper in the whole pack, it's gorgeous! Real red foil, which is these strips here. So let me go through what I'm going to need. So I've got my punched heart. I've got a strip of Whisper White, which is half a card size, long ways. So 15.85, that sort of measurement. But half a sheet, and it's 2 3/4 inches wide. I will put metric conversions over on my website below, and I will try and work out the North American sizing, but your card size is a bit different. And then designer series paper, I just need a 1-inch strip, 12 inches long, which I will be cutting down. So I'm using the lace, the small lace stamp, which is my main feature, if you like. So I've got my heart, my stamp, my piece of Whisper White cardstock. So the first thing I'm going to do is ink up in Flirty Flamingo and stamp into the middle of my designer series paper piece. I'm then going to pop that onto my Whisper White so that it's sort of in the middle, and then stamp sort of in the middle. Straight, of course, would be a plan, really, wouldn't it? So if I have that straight, then this might be straight too. In fact, let's do that. And then it actually is straight, and I can use my grid paper to line everything up. So stamp in the middle, and again down at the bottom, stamp in the middle. So that's that bit. Then we need an arrow to go across here. Now, unfortunately, the arrow isn't really quite long enough, but that's fine. So all I'm going to do is ink up the tail and then pop that, oops, I haven't inked it up properly, that's better. Pop that kind of where I want it, remove the heart and stamp, clean my stamp and make sure it actually is not only clean but dry as well. Ink up the arrow end of my stamp, pop my heart back on, and again hover, and then line up as much as you can that straight line so that your arrow is shooting straight. And that is how we do that. So that's then going to go there, and there's enough arrow both ends. So that's the outside. While I'm stamping, I'm going to do the inside. So all I'm going to do on the inside is stamp, ooh, no, that is right, no it's not, in real red. I'm going to stamp, I do still need the Flirty Flamingo, Happy Valentine's Day. And I am going to bring in my piercing mat because this is a solid stamp. Let's ink that properly. That's better. It's a very solid stamp, so I want to make sure that I get a good impression, and the piercing mat with a photopolymer stamp will help that, like that. I'm going to clean this quickly because that will help reduce the staining. Red inks will always stain your photopolymer, but you can reduce it by very quickly just cleaning that off. Now, I have already done a mask, and I thought I had saved the other bit. I did. So this is the mask that I've cut just out of a post-it note, and I don't know if you can see. Let me see if I can find a piece of Whisper White. There we are. Can you see I've cut inside the line just a little bit? That will help when I'm using the mask to make sure that the stamp that I stamp over it doesn't have a funny white shadow. So pop that down. Don't need my real red anymore, so before I do something like put my hand in it. Flirty Flamingo. And again, because I've gone this way with my arrow, I'm going to continue that through. So I'm going to try and have everything so that it's all sort of close and I can look at that angle. So we're going from here across. Now this is because I am one of those people that just likes things to be accurate. If it doesn't bother you, then it really doesn't matter. Or do it in the opposite direction and then it really won't matter. But if I remove the mask, you can see that I've stamped straight through. Had I cut the mask right on the edge of the stamped area, there might have been a little bit of white showing through. So just a little tip there. So we are so nearly done. All I need to do now is fold my card in half and burnish it well. And then find the middle. That's probably going to be the hardest bit. Actually, no, at this point I don't need to find the middle. At this point I need to find my snail and add snail to one end of my designer series paper and then down one side to about the halfway mark. So let's use my card as the guide, and then at the bottom here I'm just going to add a piece of, or a bit of snail, so that I know that there's a piece. Oh, except it's the wrong side. Let's do this side first. So just line up the top and then down the side. Press that down, and then from the back I can trim that off and we've got a nice flush cut there. Then this piece I need to add adhesive to the top and then down the other side. All the way to the bottom. We've already put snail on the bottom of the card, and then line up the top and then just trim off that piece like that. And then with this piece and the card the right way up, I'm going to add some adhesive to the card base and then just down the edges, because those obviously won't go, I say obviously, you don't know that it's obvious that they're not going to go onto the card, but they're not going onto the base, they're going onto the designer series paper. And just try and get it so that it's reasonably even. You can do that by lining up with the dots, and then make sure it's even at the top, and then press down. And if you do find, like I've here got a very, very slight bit of the designer series paper showing, let me just pop my glue away. You can bring in, if you have it, your little mini trimmer, which you can only get now in the starter kit. It comes free, and then just trim off the hair of a smidge. Or maybe not. Helps if you go straight, of course. So the hair of a smidge of the bottom of your card, and then pop that away. And I have made a bit of a, got a bit of a bit sticking off there. There we go. And then it stops that funny little bit at the bottom. Then dimensionals on the back of this. Now this is designer series paper, so I am going to be quite generous with my dimensionals because I need them to be reasonably robust, just in case it's going through the post. So as I say, I wouldn't normally, if this was card, I wouldn't put nearly that number on. I'll probably just put 3 on, 1 at the bottom and 1 at each rounded bit. And then pop this in the middle of our, in the middle of our arrow, so that it's reasonably lined up. There we go. And then I've got some of these From My Heart faceted gems. The large ones will fit on a glue dot. And I'm going to use 1 large one and 2 smaller ones. So let me grab a large flirty flamingo and pop that on a glue, pop that on a glue dot and squish it down well. And then that I'm going to pop onto the circle on my arrow. And then for the others, I'm just going to grab my liquid adhesive and pop a little splotch there and a little splot there. Now I do actually like to leave my adhesive to dry for a little bit because then it gets tacky. So while I'm leaving it to dry, I will have close-up photos of this on my website, which is linked below. If you enjoy the video when I eventually get to the end, please give it a thumbs up. And do think about subscribing, that's in the bottom right hand corner. If you're in the UK, remember that you can order from me, and that would be lovely. If you're in the UK, France, Austria, Germany or the Netherlands, you can also join my team, which during Celebration you get the mini trimmer, a pack of 6x6 designer series paper as a sampler, and any stamp set that you want that isn't a host or Celebration set, but any paid for in the standard, either in the annual or the mini catalogue, plus your usual starter kit. So really good deal. So I'm going to use a Whisper White, I say Whisper White, white up there, and just keep that in place for a moment, and a real red down here. And then what I like to do is pop the lid back on my sticky end of my Take Your Pick, and then just press down just to make sure that everything is very nicely stuck. And there we go. 2 really pretty, shiny Valentine's cards. So as I say, I hope you enjoyed that and will give it a thumbs up. If you need anything product-wise, the links are below. You can also find that over on my website. There'll be close-up photographs and stuff over on my website as well. Details of the joining offer during celebration, and all those sorts of good things. Thank you very much indeed for joining me. Do hop along to the rest of the blog hop, which you can get to by going to my website. And have a fantastic day. Thanks a lot for joining me. Bye!